Hello and welcome back to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. Let's see. Picking up where we left off last time, we were on the surface of Telos. We just killed a couple of bounty hunters and then that one lady with their two droids. And, yeah, now it looks like we're coming up to the research station, the compound, and the AD tower that shot us down in the last section, so... Yeah, and right away, it's like a bunch of combat coming up, so...
There's the landing pad. There should be a computer terminal I can access from there. Looks like we're gonna have to fight our way there, though.
Yeah, they're right there,
The
Vader.
Jedi saves us the trouble of looking for you. Corin Fault did say you were dangerous. Maybe he does know what he's talking about.
Who are you? Well, it's pretty...
Fault hired me to keep everyone out of the restoration zone.
Say it's pretty obvious.
In particular,
Well, it's down here.
a grenade with your name on it. Jedi, attack!
I do like to personalize all my Class 4 weapons and stuff. Oh, almost forgot. Yeah, so this fight's going to go on for a little while because there's other enemies spread throughout the base. I was talking about in the other episode, or sort of mentioned the extended universe and made a couple of jokes about it. Star Wars Extended Universe is something that personally I never really got into. I mean, I love the original movies. I really enjoyed this game, of course. Let's see. Yeah, he's dead. And not that I really have a problem. I don't think a lot of the extended universe stuff, like I read some of it just on the Wikipedia at times when I was bored and wanted something to read, and wasn't a whole lot there, but a whole lot else to do. I do think it was... Personally, I don't find it that interesting, mostly because people are putting a lot of detail into stuff, and I think that when you add too many details and too many rules to this kind of, world that the original movies created, it sort of lessens the appeal and the effect that those original stories have. A big one being, Jedi and the Force. Like, those are really cool things, and you can understand, like, why people got so enamored with those movies, and why it's just kind of, they ran away with it, or just people in general, I'm talking about, in the last few decades, and why it's such a big deal when the prequels just, like, weren't that good, and, one, just the amount of disappointment that came from that, and then two, in recent years, a lot of, especially around the time when The Force Awakens, like, it was leading up to that, like, after Disney acquired Lucasfilm, and Star Wars was kind of re-entering the cultural spotlight, in another big way. But you got people, re-looking at the prequels and saying, like, well, they're not that bad, or maybe they're not as bad as we thought they were. It's been a few years. Maybe we ought to look back and see if we can... Maybe we got it wrong the first time. And yeah, I think those movies are trash. I never liked them. When I was a kid, I loved them. But when I grew up, got past like 15 and actually watched them again, and really just started to not like them. But yeah, I mean, those original movies, they were just almost perfect in the way they kind of built this fantastical universe and told a really compelling story, and it got a lot of people swept up in it. But I think when you start adding rules to things like how the Force works and things like that, it takes away from kind of the magical elements of it to make it so enjoyable. If you look at the Force, it's just this. It's basically telekinesis. Or lightning shoots out of your fingertips. I mean, I imagine, to me, the Force was always something. It was just a storytelling element So we can get these guys back into the fight. Sorry, getting distracted. So we started adding a lot of rules to it, like, well, this Jedi was able to do this, so therefore the next one should, you know, this doesn't follow. You know, it makes for a good video game when you can put those kind of rules to it and be able to use those mechanics. But when you start adding it to the universe in general, telling stories from it, I do think it lessens the effect that story can have. And also, it seemed like Star Wars had the extended universe had this problem of having to tie everything back to like the original characters. You know, it's like everyone is either like Han, Luke, Leia, Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, or related to them in some way. Even as a much younger kid, wasn't really thinking too critically about too many things at that time in my life. Now I probably think about them too much. I just read, it was like a kid's book that I read. And the main character wasn't a character in Star Wars from the movies or anything like that. It was just basically a kid, you know, like a teenager in the Star Wars universe that was the character, because this was a book written for teenagers, if not younger. And even in that book, the character mentions briefly flying around with Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon, and then at the end fights zombies with Boba Fett. And at that young age, I thought, really? Like, in this entire great galaxy full of rich and interesting characters, this one teenager just happens to end up on the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo, and then also teams up with Boba Fett to fight these zombies. You know, even then, it seemed a little ridiculous to think that the main characters from the movies had to be tied in some way in order for people to accept it as a good Star Wars story. You know, I just think people love it, and I can understand why, but I think some people, and obviously not talking about everyone here, some people just think about it too much, and you know, they want to explore kind of the deeper universe. You know, they want to be involved in it, so people start writing their own stuff and adding things to it, and it's great. But when you get down to like some of the details that get put in, like given the Millennium Falcon is serial number, or the fan-made story behind like Darth Vader's suit, like it's just I think it's a little too much. I mean, a little ridiculous, and normally that thing wouldn't. I would say it's like, well, that's who cares, you know, when it's a fantasy story. You know, these movies were basically made for children when they were made, or you know, whoever's highly marketable and has lots of disposable income. But I'm losing my train of thought here.
Just an empty mesa. We should investigate this. I feel this is the best bet of finding the Ebon Hawk.
Polar region, got it.
That's a little tougher.
I just completely lost my train of thought.
It's currently docked inside the research facility. At least there was at last report, though that was months ago.
Anyway, there's too much to it, I thought, and you know, games like this, which are able to, by being set 4,000 years before the events of A New Hope, I thought it was good to be able to set itself apart. Oh, now what I was going to say was, when you start kind of those fan-made stories and theories and facts and stuff get put in, it makes it really difficult. You know, like say when you put out a movie or a new major property to tell a new story, it can make it much difficult for it to be seen as a, you know, to be accepted. Like, people tend to want what's familiar and what they know, and if you try to do something different, it can upset some people. And I think it's great when stories can not upset people, but, you know, pull people out of their comfort zones. Like, it's good to be pulled out every once in a while, see something new. But when it comes to major corporations making decisions about, you know, the movies they're going to make, the media they're going to put out, the stories they're going to tell, so the important thing is when you got a large vocal consumer base saying, give us more of the same, we don't like it when you do something new. Force field.
This arm of mine isn't just for show, General. Stand back.
You know, and that affects their decisions to start putting out like more of the same movies, because it's what they believe would be more profitable. So
After you.
no more turrets. But yeah, that's sort of my 2 cents in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, which I understand is mostly non-canon anymore. It's probably, I think, for the best, just because some of it was getting kind of goofy.
Let us end this.
Alright, so we're inside the research station, which is like an old abandoned Telos military building or complex. As you can see, there's poison mines, you know, gas vents underneath the floors here, which can be quite a pain in the butt. Oh, maybe Bayodir can do this. He's a pretty good. Yeah, he got in. Deactivate local turrets. Maybe we'll leave them on, just if anything, to add more combat, more experience points, something. Just got anything. Yeah.
Let's go.
I know I was talking over it, but Bayodir mentioned that Zerka was sending teams in to the station that weren't coming back out. And, yeah, because there's still a lot of these old military droids that are still active in the gas vents and such, so stop repairing me, I'm not a machine. But I don't know if you've seen the Last Jedi yet. I saw it when it came out, which for me as of this recording was a couple of weeks ago, and I won't spoil anything. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. If you're on the internet, if you're watching this game, you probably at least have an ear to the ground when it comes to Star Wars movies and or media properties, and it was hard not to hear about how that movie really split the fan base. Did I get that? Yes. Knights of the Republic 1 did not have that empty thing whenever you like open something. So like if you cleared out a box, took all the loot, you wouldn't know if it was empty just by looking at it. Like, anyway. Let's stay out of the poison Bayodir. I enjoyed it. Of course, as anyone will tell you, the movie had its problems with pacing and editing and unnecessary subplots or too many subplots or, you know, blah, blah, blah. Valid criticisms and complaints. It did, I think, hurt the movie in the long run. That was a long run of a movie. But I did enjoy it. I think some of the complaints as far as, oh, you tricked us with, you know, who's Rey's parents going to be, or all these theories we had, like, oh, none of the, you know, the theories, it's like the movie intentionally knew what the major theories were out there regarding, like, who Snoke is, who's Rey's parents, and blah, 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 and like intentionally, very bluntly, like subverted things, went in the opposite direction, which I really enjoyed. I really hate, well, I don't hate any, you know, in the sense that I'm emotional about it, but, you know, the theory crafting that goes on with Star Wars also gets a little ridiculous. Darth Jar Jar stuff, I don't buy it for an instant. I think you get a lot of people cherry picking very, very fine details from a larger context, and it's you know, twisting facts to fit their theories instead of theories to fit facts, as Sherlock Holmes once said in a movie. Anyway, I really like The Last Jedi, and I think some people, when I say it, when some people think this, it's I heard around the internet. I wouldn't attribute it to anyone, but no one I know. Oh, it's gonna be a tough room. My energy resistance. You know, saying like, well, they didn't know the Force could do that. You know, why didn't Luke do this instead he did this with the Force? And you know, it's just like, my dude, they're telling a story here. The Force is an element of a story. It's one of many elements, but they're just trying to tell a good story, and I think they did. You know, sometimes it's not best to see two characters lightsaber duel, or, you know, epically lightsaber duel, because really what you're going to end up with is just these CGI flips and tricks and stuff, and ultimately it always comes down to is, you know, what is it, how does it function as within the story itself, you know, what's the larger context. And let's boost our wisdom a little bit. Master Force focus. Let's get our max crit strike. Force channel. I like this one. This will help us regen force points during combat a little bit better. And this force power lets us heal poison. And then destroy droid. Go ahead and take this one since we'll be fighting a lot of droids in the near future. I'm gonna not level up Beodur for reasons. Yeah, but you look at the lightsaber duel at the end of Revenge of the Sith between Obi-Wan and... That's a good chunk of health. You know, it's like this 20-minute epic... You know, use your arm, dude.
There she is, one orbital.
You know, it's just a
Looks like it's in service of
epic CGI computer-generated duel that went on forever.
The hangar bay doors are closed.
Cool.
We'll also need to find the ignition codes for the shuttle, or else we'll have some. If we get all that, I will.
Got it. Codes and open the doors. You know, and it's, at the end, it comes down to Obi-Wan beats Anakin in a fight. You know, it's like everything up into that looked cool, looked flashy. Kind of got a little numb. Right. Kind of get a little numb to it after, I think, a few minutes, but it always comes down to, you know,
Let's go.
the characters and their interactions. Anyway, making our way through this military base. Just lots of droids. Nothing too major. Trying to get to the polar region. Beodur, you know, got into the system. Let's turn off the poison gas. Thank you. He's like, hey, here's this weird shield thing down in the polar region. Like, that's weird. Like, someone is... Yeah, we can't unlock that. Someone is shielding the polar region, ideally, you know, to live there, be able to to set up like a settlement or something. That so now we got to get and they're like, well, it's probably where the Evan Hawk is, so we'll try to get down there. Anyway, hopefully I'm not explaining things again that were blatantly obvious, but I know I did talk over that conversation where they mentioned all that. Maybe controlled by a nearby terminal. Got a lot of droid parts, which is good. Nice. That was easy. It's a nice hiding spot. Let's see. Just go ahead and follow us. I don't think anything happens if you save that guy, but I think it's just a chance to get some dark side points if you want to be like, oh, you're on your own. He will follow us around now. He doesn't fight. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. Let's see. Sparking plasteel cylinder means you can't security it, but maybe Bayodur can. Yeah, can blow it open. Get something out of it. Considering we don't really use mines for combat purposes in this game, it's probably worth it, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't fight. Doesn't really do anything. Pretty sure even if he survives to like we leave, he just disappears. I'm not sure if that was purely just for a chance to get some dark side points, or if he was part of a larger maybe his story or dialogue or whatever got cut in the final game and he just got left over. I don't know. We've seen a little bit of restored content so far, very minor. I think I want to say Cartho Nassi was not in the original game, or maybe he was if he chose Revan to be female. But normally, like before, it just used to be just some guy, some Republic captain or admiral. All right. You gotta get. And then when we were landing, hard landing on Telos, after there was those moments where it cut to the cutscene of the shuttle flying and then crashing, and then between that and Atten talking to us. I don't know if that was cut content that's been put back in, or if it was always in the PC version, but I'm quite certain that it was not in the console version. Oh, hello. Damaged. It's weird.
This droid has been damaged and does not appear to be functional.
Alright, now we got a protocol droid to follow us around for a little while. But I believe that conversation was not in the console version. Probably because it might have... Oh, wait, the droid just blew up. Now this, so you see the blue line there, which means a transition to another area, and it's called the military sublevel. That is part of the cut content. Like, that was supposed to be an area we could explore. At some point, it has to do with the HK droids. Like it might be their production facility, which is why we found one there. But it wasn't supposed to be a thing until like late game. And I don't know if that has been restored in this mod, and I just have never seen it because I haven't seen it. I thought I saw it in like a trailer for the mod, or maybe it wasn't actually restored or something. I don't know. Maybe I just never got to it. Reactor control. Start it up. That's a big droid. Oh, and that turned on the turrets. For some reason these were tied to the reactor, but the other ones were not. These guys just kind of took those. That reminds me. Force regen, force damage. So. Now that we're getting some of our offensive force powers up there, we'll probably be relying on those a little bit more than just our straight up melee skill. Cool. So we turn on the reactor, it opened the doors, and then there's this other door in that charging station area that opened as well. So go check that out. This one. Yes. Ignition code for the shuttle. That's good. So I believe we have everything we need. I guess those droids that died at the charging stations did not drop any remains. Let me just... Oh, they did. Here's our ticket out of here. Hangar doors unlocked. Alright. Done everything we needed to get out of here. I'm going to save before we fight this really, really large droid. Fortunately, we have destroy droid. Ow. Kreia, where are you at? I think we got him. Thanks for your help. Getting remains for me. We'll go look in here in the meantime. Other than that cut content thing that the droid production facility or whatever it is that comes up later in the late game, I don't believe you can actually land back on Tilo's surface. You can go back to the Citadel station I mean, now that we don't really need to, we would not need to go up to the surface since there's like nothing. There's no NPCs there to talk with, the quests to do. To have a hyperdrive, it gets you the restoration zone. Take it to the polar region. All right, we'll probably land at the polar station, see what's there, and then. And there's a lot of conversation after that, so we'll end the episode after we get there.
Statement.
Ooh.
We have arrived too late. The target has evaded us. We must pursue it. Observation. They have likely escaped aboard the orbital shuttle that has been docked here. The bay control computer likely will have a record of their departure. Query.
My coffee got
Have you
cold.
discovered anything
Now I'm
about the
upset.
shuttle's course? Answer. I have managed to track the shuttle's movement across the SHIELD network. However, the SHIELD network does not stretch over the polar region, which was the shuttle's apparent destination. Statement. Dispatch a unit to the polar region with the last known coordinates and approximate path of the shuttle. They will not escape us again.
Well, this can't be any worse than last time. So that's the hole in the SHIELD network, huh? Doesn't look like much to me.
Yeah, those types of conversations were not in the... Or at least in the console version. I don't know if they're in the original PC or if that's part of the cut content. At least not that I remember.
You've got to be kidding me. It's not my fault.
Like, you have to shoot us down. We're gonna land there anyway.
Egotistic praise. An excellent shot, even with the prevailing winds. I couldn't have done it better myself.
It looked like a guided rocket to me, but...
Field assessment. I picked up on the heat forms of the Jedi and his allies. Activate the mines and prime the self-destruct sequences. Relieved statement. Oh, Jedi, it is good to see you intact. We were concerned that shooting down your shuttle would damage you irreparably. Quick clarification, but now that we have found you, we hope that we can facilitate communications. Unnecessary addendum. And put an end to hostilities.
why did you shoot down my vessel?
Unnecessary clarification. We merely wish to cripple your vessel. Once we tracked your coordinates, we were able to deploy several droids in this location. Probing query. We are, however, curious as to why you chose to come to the remnants of the polar Telos irrigation system. There is nothing here that our instruments can detect. Eager threat. But we are looking forward to extracting your motives for coming here when we place you in torture restraints.
What are assassin droids doing here?
Self-evident answer. Wherever you try to run, we will be there, armed and ready. Rhetorical query. So the query you have posed to us is one we put to you. What are you doing here, we wonder?
How many of you are there?
Chiding statement. Oh, Jedi, there are as many of us as are needed.
I wonder if the droids that move their heads,
Our targets.
like they stop
Political boast.
moving their head when they speak. Because you notice, like, it's a different one every time, so there's like a different one that talks each time.
And our attack protocols are more than a match for you and your allies.
Destroying one of you is easy. Wiping out 3 might cause me to break a sweat. Just get in there and kill him. Fortunately, these don't self-destruct like the one on Paragus did. Wasn't too difficult. You tell BioWare loves that the way the droid talks. So we got another component. Because the HK-47 in the first Knights of the Republic talk like that, where he mentioned, you know, unnecessary addendum or egotistical boasting, or, you know, they say what kind of statement it is, and then they say it. But you can tell they like that because HK-47 said it in that game, and then, you know, these 50 say it in this, but this was not by BioWare anyway. But then in Mass Effect, they had that one alien species. I forget the name, but they're the big hulking ones that are from a planet with like too much gravity, so they don't have any facial expressions. So they're like eager response. I'm so happy. I don't know. I think it's a fun little detail. So, all right, this door will take us inside, where we will then begin probably like a 10-minute conversation at least. Yeah, but we'll say that for next episode. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the series, and I'll see you next time. So until then, bye.